WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and T-shirt out on the webcam here at Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And I've been tracking this guy down for the better part of 3 days. He has been, outside of Ryan Odom, and the guy's actually shooting the buckets there at UMBC down in Charlotte. The busiest guy running all things UMBC athletics, which I followed before all of this started last week. We welcome Zach Seidel on. One-time a student at UMBC and son of the great Jeff Seidel, who I've been friends with for many, many years here, going back into the 1980s. Your dad is proud of you. Everybody's proud of you, and I know the university's proud of you, Zach. What a weekend. What a ride, brother. I mean, this one shining moment, as they say, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. It's definitely been wild. It's definitely been overwhelming at times. I'm someone who doesn't really like the spotlight. I was just manning a Twitter account. I didn't expect it to blow up like this, but it's definitely been fun and something I'll never forget.
All right, well, run me through the whole timeline of this. And I know you've done a bunch of interviews. I know you've been written up in the New York Times, and everybody's called you. I haven't read any of that. I don't know your story with this. I know you had a problem with Wi-Fi on Sunday night because I was at the Judas Priest concert watching you and the game, and I watched more of the game than I did of Judas Priest. Certainly more of that than I did Saxon. I think over the weekend, the notion that this could happen on the court was probably the last thing on your mind, right? You didn't go in on Friday night thinking we're going to win and blow out Virginia and I need to bring my A game. For you, it was, well, we're in the tournament. I want to have a great night. I want it to be fun. But I don't think you were thinking about winning. I don't think a lot of people outside of the guys on the court were thinking about winning, quite frankly.
I wasn't thinking about the outcome of the game in any way. I said I wanted to have fun, and when my boss, the great Steve Levy, asked me to run the account, I was like, yeah, sure, I just want to have fun, and as I've told people, I tweet the same way, no matter if it's a Wednesday matinee women's lacrosse game or a Tuesday night baseball game or a Saturday afternoon softball game. I tweet the same way. It's just this time more people happen to be watching and noticing it, and that's just my personality. I've been told I have a quick wit. I'm good with comebacks, and it's just more people started to notice that, and the people who know me could tell right away that was me. I think I only told a handful of people I was running the account. Most of them were like my family and of course my coworkers. And it got to the point where midway through the first half, I saw people on Twitter, former students and student athletes, at UMBC who knew me. I saw them, start tweeting, that's got to be Zach, right? That's got to be Zach. And then my phone's blowing up from numbers I don't recognize. They're like, you're doing awesome, you're on fire. And they haven't said who's tweeting, but I know that's you, Zach. I know that is you, for a fact, And I'm like, thanks. Who is this? Well,
I caught on early. I mean, you and I are Facebook friends. So, first off, I saw it there, and I kind of saw it everywhere on Friday night. And, I guess the part of it that's fascinating to me was the Seth Davis thing, right? Getting involved in that sort of set the thing off in, kind of a fun trolling fashion, which is exactly where a 16 seed should be on a 1 seed when you're up 20 points.
Yeah, that's what it was, and like I said, the only tweet I knew I was going to do going into the game was Jairus Lyles needed 15 points to break the single season scoring record, and I knew that was the only tweet. That was my only planned tweet, and I actually had a picture of him out ready to go, and I do graphics, for us. So I was actually starting as the game started. I was going to multitask, tweet the game and work on the graphics, and then I was waiting for the first basket to tweet the first basket, and then right after, Virginia makes the first basket, and Seth Davis goes, Virginia, Sharpie. And I'm like, you know what, dude? I'm like, come on, people try and think we're little brothers sometimes, and I said, we're here on the national stage, we're having a good time, and you just go, automatically just assume we're going to lose. And so I tweeted back at him, and I noticed people started following more and more and more. And my plan was to just keep literally replying to his original tweet with the score, which I did. If you look at the first half of the game, I just kept replying to his tweets. And then every media break, I quoted that tweet going, UMBC trails 9-8 in a game, but someone needs to tell Seth Davis because he thought the game ended already. So stuff like that. And then he came out at halftime and immediately apologized, like on the air, and mentioned it, and then everything blew up.
Well, the whole weekend it still has to be surreal. I mean, you'll be 5 or 10 or 20 years down the line, and I busted out my pictures of Fang Mitchell bringing his guys over to my studio eating pizza back in 1997. So I am familiar with how this thing happens, but the fallout of it is, life goes back to normal now to some degree. But I don't know that the university or your Twitter account, certainly your career, and whoever's going to be trying to steal you want to come run the WNST Twitter account? We're snarky here 365, bro. Come on over.
I know you are.
But there is an art to social media and all of this, but now on the backside of this, I do wonder what this means for the university, and not just for your president, who obviously walked with Dr. King, and that got brought out, for Ryan Odom, who, let's be honest, you love UMBC, I love UMBC, we're around here, the new gym and all that, but this is how coaches get the next job at the ACC or wherever they're going to go. This is going to change Ryan Odom's life. Obviously, for all the players, there's always going to be a reunion 10 years from now back at UMBC and all that. But I think the big story, and it didn't even occur to me until literally Monday morning, was that every year now, when March Madness begins, like, I still think of Chaminade, which is way before your time, but I know your dad would think of that because it was that upset of all upsets. And we think of Coppin State here locally, but a 16-1 never happened before, probably will never happen again or won't happen anytime soon. And if it happens, it'll be a one-point buzzer beater Princeton-Georgetown thing. It will not be breaking the will of the number one team in the country, which clearly the Dogs did to the Hoos on Friday night. But what is the fallout over the next 5 or 10 years for the university? That's going to be fascinating because people are going to know the name. You're going to sell a lot of T-shirts, I think, right?
I would imagine it. And I was actually, having a conversation with some of the higher-ups at our school who were there. They saw me in the lobby and like, all right, let's come over. We got to talk about all this, or to go about this for Sunday. But, we done it in that the story of before the game on Friday, in the morning, me and one of the school videographers, Dustin Rodney, went over to just get a burger somewhere. We went over, and the Uber driver was like, what are you in town for? And we're like, UMBC. Basketball, whistle, UMBC, and he goes, oh, what's that? And we explained it to him, and it's a thing among people who work at UMBC and athletes. We go somewhere, what's that? UMBC, oh, what's that stand for? Well, on the way to the arena when we Ubered there, the same thing happened. And then the next day, on Saturday, me and a coworker who were still there, we needed to go to Target to pick up some stuff, and we Ubered to a Target about 10 minutes away, and the guy goes, what are you in town for? And we said, basketball. And he goes, who are you with? We're like, UMBC. He goes, we went Maryland, Baltimore County. He goes, oh, the Miracle Basketball School. And we're like, yeah, the Miracle Basketball School, And
that's what we'll always be, right? We'll always be the Miracle Basketball School now.
Yeah, and so, and then the same thing happened, just having we went to get a sandwich right next to the Target, and one of it's like a high school kid working there, and he saw the UMBC logo on our head. He starts freaking out. He goes, you guys, Maryland, Baltimore County, never heard of you. I'm going to look at you now. You guys basketball, didn't realize how good of an academic school you were. And we're getting tweets from people saying, never heard of you before, but we realize how great your academics are. We want to apply now. It's crazy. Admission probably will go up, or at least applications will, and it's great. We're a young university. We're only 50 years old,
Well, the other part of that is, for people, and I saw some snarkiness about UMBC being some sort of commuter community college, and I'm thinking to myself, no offense, Zach, you're a smarter guy than me. You went there. I was not of the sciences, it was a nerd school with computers and stuff that I was never going to be good at, I always, when I spend time over there, I always feel like the dumb guy on campus, and to see people sort of denouncing the university without knowing it, I saw some sports writers do that, and I'm like, it's one thing to be flippant or funny, and it's Virginia against an alphabet school and all of that, and America East. I'll hear all of that, but don't get down on the academics if you don't know what you're talking about, because that's fake news, man.
Yeah, and that's what upset me about, Davis's tweet. He just mention anything about the athletics. The academics, that would have been something else. But that's the one tweet that got really popular was the John Heyman one. Where he goes, UMBC up by 14 on Virginia. Who's I just have one question. What's the UMBC? And I answered back. I quote tweeted it, and I wrote, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Who are you? You know, and that one got like 150,000 and retweets and stuff. And I know who John Heyman was, but you know, we know who we are. School, if you look, and it's an academic institution, you know, and look into it, you know, maybe say something like, you know, I didn't know who UMBC was, but looking at it, it's pretty good.
Well, you know, for you being, a part of this thing and the whole Charlotte thing and everybody down there, set the scene for me. Where were you tweeting from? I obviously all the pictures out on the court and all that stuff. I'm sure you're in some of the celebratory videos as well. But, I mean, you're there to do a job. You're there working on this thing. You became the pipeline for everybody outside very, very quickly, the social media spokesperson, as it were. Just a very, very unusual set of circumstances that I don't think you thought in your mind's eye at 9 o'clock on Friday night that it would go the way it went, right?
Yeah, and before the game, my biggest concern was I found that I was sitting right at the scorer's table, right behind the replay monitor, you know. So I knew that anytime the camera panned, you know, to one side of the court, I would be on camera. Like, that was my biggest concern. And, you know, I texted some friends and I texted my parents, and my mom's like, brush your hair. You know, and I'm like, you know, like, I didn't want to be the guy with the messy hair. And then, you know, of course, for Sunday, they knew the spot I was sitting in, so Under Armour gave me a shirt, and they're like, please wear this shirt, you know, during the game, so if the camera goes on you or they talk about you, they see the shirt, you know, like that. So it was pretty fun.
Well, you are not the voice of UMBC athletics. You just were this weekend, right? Like, other people use that account, right?
Yeah, I mean, we share it. Like I said, Steve Levy does it. My coworkers, Shauna Moser, Dave Castellanos. We have some interns, Christian Howell, Aaron Hartgrove, Leah Roth. They all tweet for us. It's just, you know, whatever sport you do. So I'm primarily responsible for volleyball and softball. But, you know, if I'm not helping with the broadcast, my main responsibility is whatever we're broadcasting, whether it's an ESPN3 game or a stream of any other sport. That's my main responsibility. And it just so, but if I have enough student workers or helpers, I can help do anything else, whether it's stats or tweeting. And sometimes you're like, hey, will you tweet? And I only tweeted like 1 or 2 men's basketball games this year. You know, that's just how the cards fell.
But it's okay for you to be a fan. You went there. You've slaved away. You wear the 4 letters on the jersey and all that stuff. I mean, the fun part of this while you're doing it, and I learned this when we won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, you have your sort of obligation, hey, I'm a media guy, and people are following me, and they want to know what's going on. And then there's, I want to drink beer and have a good time. You know, I mean, we won, you know. So that's probably the hardest part of doing sports media for a living, when your team is successful and has fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you still have a job to do. Like, after the game, I still had to go and fulfill my, you know, helping Steve out obligations, go to the locker room, monitor, you know, the open locker room situation they have at the NCAAs, and I had to have a little bit of a write-up done for Steve so we could get something out real quick after the game, you know, so that was part of it, and it was just like weird. I thought my biggest part of it would be helping write the story, you know, but I guess something else happened.
Hey, man, always a pleasure to see you, your dad. I see him after Ravens games all the time. Zach Seidel is our guest, the son of Jeff Seidel and the voice, at least over the weekend, of UMBC Athletics Twitter account, and one of many who had fun. How many people would you say were in Charlotte by Sunday night on behalf of UMBC? I know some people jumped in the car Sunday morning and drove down there. I saw a little bit of that. I saw Anthony out on Facebook with his kid putting some pictures up, but it was kind of all over the place. I sort of mix and mingle well with the Dogs over the years of 20 years of supporting WNST and me supporting the Dogs, and obviously you know how close I am with Pete Carinci, but you know, this was a real chance. I think people did have a 2-day lead to jump in the car and go down there Sunday night, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely a couple thousand UMBC fans, and all the non-Kansas State fans in there were rooting for us. There was a lot of black and gold, and it was loud in there. It was some of the loudest I've ever heard, you know, and I've been to, you know, big Ravens games and stuff, and it rivaled that. I'm not lying. It rivaled that. Whenever UMBC scored a basket, it was crazy.
Well, Rest up, my man. We got next year, and we got soccer season and lacrosse season, and to your point, softball season, and all the other things you'll be tweeting about over there. But it was fun seeing you be a celebrity for the weekend, man. And you wear it well, Zach. Let me tell you that.
All right, thank you very much.
It was great to follow you along, and everybody was following UMBC athletic tweets over the weekend, and the fun being had at the expense of anyone who doubted the Dogs, including on Sunday night. We'll have head coach Ryan Odom here before the week's over. I'm chasing down Steve Levy, Tim Hall. I mean, I'll get everybody on before it's all over with, but one at a time. One great Charlotte story at a time. It's all brought to you by our friends at Cole Roofing. You felt that March wind blowing in a couple of weeks ago. If you have a commercial roof space, the advice from Cole Roofing is to get somebody on the roof and take a look and make sure you have no wind damage, because this water's coming. Not going to be a good circumstance for you. Bill Cole will be here this week to talk some sports as well as the miracle of UMBC. You can learn more about all they do at Pfister Energy and at Cole Roofing. King Discount Liquors, lottery, beer, booze, and the best prices in Baltimore. Get on over to Rosedale and give the King a ring over on Pulaski Highway. As well, Box Hill Pizzeria. We got to tell you about Box Hill Pizzeria. The best crab cakes in Harford County can now be shipped anywhere. If you're up there in the Abingdon area, you can find them at boxhillpizzeria.com. They are remodeling the entire place. So if you haven't been to Box Hill, give it a couple more weeks. They'll give you a little bit more room in there, but stop by and grab it on the way out. Take it to go for now. Sit in the new comfortable digs there. I was there last week. They're making it bigger and better and adding to the dining room experience in time for late spring and early summer. Box Hill Pizzeria up there in Abingdon. Stop by and tell Tommy and Chris that I saw the blueprints. Looks beautiful up there at Box Hill Pizzeria. All right, you can find me anytime, anywhere out on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.